Hi there, it's Amy again from the Central Victorian Ableton user group, and I'm inviting you to sit back and enjoy the next kind of 50 minutes or so of our guest presenter at the November meetup, who was Ben Ang, who dialed in all the way from Singapore, and what Ben took us through was the topic of the moment, Live 11, which only dropped a few days before our meetup. So what Ben did was an amazing, really practical way of taking us through. He takes a few different tracks and then applies each of the brand new features to the making of those sounds and tracks. So there's a lot to really take away from today's session. Before we dive in, I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction to Ben, because he is really amazing, and I would implore you to check out his website, benangmusic.com, and finding out a little bit more and listening to some of his amazing work. He's an electronic music instructor. He's an Ableton certified trainer. He is a live electronic musician, and amongst many things. So he's the principal tutor at the Electronic Music Lab in Singapore. He's also part of a synth pop duo called Cosmic Armchair, who are signed to a UK label, and he has a solo project where he does live electronic improvisation. He has been involved in Singapore's electronic scene since the early 90s, so he's been doing it for a long time, and he really does know what he's doing. And he's very generous with his time and his knowledge, and I know that you're going to enjoy today's lesson.
If you've been anywhere on the internet in the past week or so, you will recognize that this is Live 11. This is the new version of Ableton Live, which is coming very soon, and which hundreds of experts have done tutorial videos on to show the new features. So the new features can be easily found here in this list of what's new in Live 11. And all these devices, fantastic devices and functionality, which you can learn more about by watching so many YouTube videos. So what I wanted to do today a little differently was to share some of my workflow experiences using Live 11 in producing music. And I'm using beta B18 today. And I believe that the beta is also available to the public if you want to try. As with all betas, you know that you take a slight risk because you're still in the testing phase. This is not the final, but it's a great way to get a look at these functions and to see whether they're useful for you. And spoiler alert, I found them pretty useful for me. I'm going to be talking about the various ways in which I've been using Live 11's functions for my music production and also getting it ready for live performance. And in between, feel free to jump in the chat and ask me questions, or unmute yourself and ask me a question. Go ahead. I like to keep it interactive, so please feel free. The first thing I want to show is a pretty simple piece of lo-fi. And I used a stock set of chord progressions. And this I got from a sample pack. And I loaded up one of the new look devices. This is actually electric. Electric is the electric piano module, a device. But you'll see that the interface has changed. So I'm able to actually adjust the different settings, and I can adjust the settings based on the actual physical look of the thing. I used to have to imagine what all the different settings were, but now I can actually see which part of the piano action it would come from. So as I tap this, you can see which part lights up. Much more intuitive. You'll also notice that there's a new button here above the macros. And to show you the power of this, I'm going to click on this snapshot camera action. First, I'm going to save what I see here. This creates a variation, meaning that it's a snapshot of the macro settings that I have now, what you hear. Then I can randomize. Sound has changed very slightly. Now it's become more fragile. I think I'll have a new version. So I click New, this variation 2. I'll rename it Fragile. The first one, I'll rename it as Normal. Let's try it again. This is brighter. I'm going to save another snapshot. Okay. Let's try another snapshot. Not that different. This is more gritty. So I'm going to make another variation, another snapshot. And now I can switch between. I've got different variations on the same instrument, which I can just switch back and forth using the snapshot function. I also decided that I want to do some, add some space to the sound because it's a bit dry. So I've added in the new hybrid reverb. This is just a preset. It's given a shimmer and it's a more intimate space. I like it because it's not overpowering. It can be overpowering if I want to, because I can easily choose something which is a chamber in a large room. That's the wonder of having convolution reverb together with algorithmic reverb's option. So it's a very nice reverb sound. So that's the chord progression I have. Of course, you always need a drum loop. This is the drum loop. I put in a reverb on it. And you see the reverbs are actually very clearly marked out what they are used for. This one is made for drums. I've got another new device here at the side, which is a spectral resonator. And this, I've got a special purpose for it. Now, if I just switch on the spectral resonator, you can hear it beginning to resonate. So that's interesting, but it's not musical enough for what I want. Why don't I take this MIDI clip and I copy it into a new track? And what I'll do is I'll take away all these extra notes and instead I'll stretch out everything because I want to fill up the space. Select all, quantize settings. Okay, so I've got full chords. I'm not playing any instrument. You see, track 4 is no instrument playing. But when I go back to track 3, I can now choose, using the sidechain, I can choose MIDI from track 4. And now the MIDI from track 4 will play the resonance. So I actually have MIDI playing the resonance from the drums because of the spectral resonator. I need to add in another layer, which should be my bass. So for my bass, I'm simply going to take the same MIDI clip, paste it here. Then I'll remove the top notes.
So Ben, once you've gone through that, is it possible to go through, like with the variation stuff, how can you access that if you want to use it for different sections of your recording?
Sure.
Yeah, but
absolutely. Okay. So I've now taken away the top notes and I've put in the instrument called electric bass. Electric bass is actually a collision instrument, and collision is a physical modeling instrument. And here again, electric bass sounds, the default sounds like this. Let's solo it. I can let's bring it down and an octave or two to get that bass sound. So a lot more intuitive to move the little ball around than to try and change settings. Because I can move it around X and Y at the same time. It's a new twist on the old device, thanks to the new interface. The next layer I want to put is the new device, not an old device with a new skin, but a new device. And for this, I want to add in the MPE monomorph, which you will find is very interesting. It actually has, whoops, this is beta, so always be careful when you click something. This is wavetable, and wavetable has MPE capability. MPE, MIDI polyphonic expression, allows me to draw in new expression into the individual notes that I'm writing. But first we need to write the notes. So let's write the notes. Insert the empty MIDI clip, and I set my to 8s. Let's see. I need to write something in C# minor. And C# minor is not what you would call a fun scale to work in, right? It's not exactly easy to use. So instead, why don't I let the software do it for me? I click on scale here in my clip. I choose C#, and I'll choose a minor pentatonic, which is even easier. I've got even less notes to worry about. And straight away, it's marked out for me where the scale notes should be. I want to go one step further. I click on scale, and now only the scale notes show. So whatever I click here, it will be right. It will be correct. There used to be some really complicated workarounds we used to have to do this, but now it's there. By clicking on scale twice, basically, I now have everything in key. So I will make it faster by duplicating and then using invert. I can invert, I can reverse, invert again, invert, invert, reverse, creating something which is going to be in scale. For better or worse, it's in scale. Okay, it's kind of plain. Why don't I let the velocity be more varied? Should I draw in the velocity, or should I just click on the velocity, and click randomize? So now I've got different velocities. Okay. But if I keep on just playing this whole sequence of notes, it's going to drive me crazy, right? Because there's non-stop notes. So I don't want all the notes to play all the time. So instead, why don't I go to probability, and I can also bring it down. So every note only has, say, about 60% probability of playing. What does that sound like? In fact, for the second half, why don't I even randomize the probability? Oh, that range is a bit too big, right? So I'm going to reduce the range, try and make it a bit more likely to happen. Okay. I actually realized that this is an MP instrument, so there is the ability to go into the notes, and by clicking on this tab here, I can now do things like change the aftertouch pressure on an individual note. So for example, in this note, I've now got pressure. I can increase the pressure on this particular note. Maybe every time an E appears, I shall increase the pressure on every E. I have no idea what this is going to sound like. But that's, to me, perhaps the most interesting part of this. Every time I see an E, I'm making it increase the pressure to simulate as if I was playing it, pressing it harder. So you can hear that every time it hits an E, that note has a different sound because the after-touch pressure is making it flare up in some way. That's MPE. And if you have an MPE controller, like a Rolly C-board, you can actually play that live. And the last thing I want to put in is one of the new packs that comes with Live 11, which is the voice pack. It's right here, the voice box pack, and there are some pretty interesting instruments here. So I've got an instrument here called the voice. If I play it on the keyboard, so I thought, okay, I could play something on this, but oh, it's in C sharp minor. Again, not one of my favorite keys to play in, but the voice box pack also comes with MIDI devices. It comes with MIDI devices like this, the scale and key arpeggios and harmonies. So it can actually create things for me. So it actually, as I play individual notes, it actually creates phrases for me. If you can spotlight the camera that's on my keyboard, you can actually see that I'm only pressing one note, which is a C sharp, just again and again and again. So that's a quick zoom through some of the functions that I use to create more chill out music. In the next section, I'll talk about what I've been doing to make some more upbeat music. And in the meantime, let's see if I can go to the question that Wayne had. Yes, so Wayne, your question was about being able to access the
variations,
right?
Yeah. So if you're putting together a whole song, you want to, the chorus or whatever to be one variation, and then next time be a different one? How do you access them to drop them in?
Yeah. Okay, so always with the caveat that this is a brand new beta. If I remembered correctly, we should be able to do this by normal automation recording. Let's just see how it works, guys. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Okay, wish me luck. I think, okay, so it did. It actually recorded every single macro change at the same time. Every single macro change has been recorded. Warmth, auto pan depth, all recorded. There we go. We've got like 8 lanes of automation all recorded at the same time. Every time I clicked on a new variation, it changed the settings on all the macros.
That's cool.
It is. Then, phew, it worked. Thanks for asking, Wayne.
You're welcome. It's good.
More questions? No?
No, you explained it really beautifully. It's so good to see it in action. So applying the actual features to the making, because it makes it really clear, and that's what's so great about them, that it is really intuitive what has been added to it, I think. So from my perspective, that was just beautifully clear. Ben, thank you.
Thank you. So this is just for the slow music, right? I did say I was going to show what I've done for more upbeat music. Okay. So for the more upbeat music, around here, which is more at about 126. The first thing I always start off with is a drum loop. And this is a kind of drum loop which can sound nice for a bit, but after a couple of bars, you need to put in some variation, right? And I would have put in something like stutter edit, but wow, new device, which just got onto the beta a couple of days ago, pitch loop 89, and just one of the presets, which I'm going to trigger off. This is a really amazing buffer shuffler kind of device, and I won't try to say that too quickly too many times, but it can really make some very, very interesting edits to your music the simplest way I'm going to do it is just to switch the device on at the 4-bar mark. And it's basically taking loops. It's taking a segment of the loop and then shuffling it around. In this case, it's making it reverse. And we can actually toggle this just to switch it on and off. But if we did other fancy stuff while it was on, if we, there's lots happening. Let me highlight this part here and loop it so we can hear it. And if you're listening to it in stereo, you'd hear that you've got left and right doing different things, slightly different. I can actually unlink them so that the left and right can do separate things. So now, which means that the whole beat will you'll notice the first time is actually loading the sample into the buffer. So the first time you play it, it doesn't have the full effect, but after that it begins to have the full effect. The next thing I added onto this upbeat track was an up loop. And the up loop sounds like this. But I felt that it needed more depth, so I put in the hybrid reverb again, which is now really one of my favorite reverbs. Straight away, that gives it a space that it's sitting in, which allows me to add in additional things like chords. All I need now is a proper bass line. Fortunately, this is in E minor. It is in E minor, right? So it shouldn't be that difficult. I'll just make a 2-bar loop, insert an empty MIDI clip, and I'm no longer in C sharp, I'm in E. I can switch off the scale. And let me get down to E. Oops, sorry, too high. A housey kind of bass. But you can already predict this is going to be weird. No. Not good. This is really flat, boring. I need to vary the velocity. Okay, velocity is all up and down now. I need to change the probability that the notes are going to play at all. And I think I want the bass, which is a nice operator device, good old operator. I want to add in one of the new audio effects, which is the chorus on Zom. Chorus on Zoom now takes chorus plus a bunch of other things. This looks like auto pan. And it combines them to give a nice lush sound. So that's more upbeat music. I'm going to challenge myself for the last part. The last part is where I actually want to play a live instrument. Oh no, live playing. I'm wondering, Amy, are you able to spotlight the other camera? And the other camera, you can see here, I have an actual synth. This is a Korg Minilog. And I'm actually playing in notes. Okay. So the interesting thing about audio movers is that so long as your audio is on, you will hear double. So if I can trouble everyone to mute yourselves for a second. Yeah. So this is the sound of my Korg Minilog. In the camera, you can see my trembling hands as I'm going to try and play this live. But the good news is that I have comping. I need to switch off automation. Then I can now show the take lanes. And I'm just going to do the first 8 bars as many times as I can to see whether I can do it. I should switch on the loop, then the comping really works. But you notice, actually a lane has already appeared. Try it again. How many rounds have I got there? I've got like 5 takes. Surely something has got to work out of all this, right? You've heard the mess that I made of everything. Let's see whether I can just choose some parts which probably work. And maybe I'll choose the front part. And as we do this, we can see that the top will begin to define. So from the beginning. So silence there. No, don't use that. I need some from here. And maybe this part. No, I don't like that. I take this one. Or this one. No, I don't like that. Okay, so I have that and I don't need this part at all. So I actually now have, out of the 5 takes, I've taken segments of the 3 that I like, and I've got a full piece. Phew. So I wasn't really sure of the playing, but it worked out thanks to comping. So that's how I've been using the new functions and devices in Live 11 to make upbeat music. The next segment will talk about the live performance aspect. But in the meantime, questions?
Ben,
Yep.
Is it possible to like take the individual takes of the comps and then put them into like separate tracks? So you use multiple takes. Like, are you able to like kind of split them out into multiple takes? Because let's say you like the idea from a certain point, but you kind of want to use both at the same time. So is that possible?
Yeah, you can definitely copy out a whole section out here, copy this take 2, and paste it out here.
Okay.
Then if I draw on it, once I draw on it, it becomes
okay.
real.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I can move it, I can take them anywhere. Nothing is wasted. The funny thing about this is that, yeah.
So I was just going to say,
Sorry?
you can drag takes into clip view as well and drop them into clips, which is pretty handy as well.
Yes, okay.
So if you like it, then you
Let's
can
do
mess
that.
around with it in session view.
Right, thank you. Oh, I also
Let's
noticed
do that. Yes.
there's some crossfades that are automatically added, right? Like to in between.
Whoa. Sorry, that ran out of control. Yes, you are right. There are, in fact, crossfades. Sharp eyes, you managed to see it on the Zoom screen. There are crossfades there to help the music link better. And in this case, there's actually a note cutoff, right? So I can actually move the crossfade. And then you can move it to the next crossfade and you find, wait, there's a beginning of a note there. So I'll crossfade from there instead. So this makes your transitions even smoother. Yep. That way you don't find it, you will be able to remove any glitches in the comps. Yep, well spotted.
Thank you. Because I was wondering, like, how come it's very, like, I didn't hear any like audible cuts. And, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's got crossfades, and you can move the crossfades as well. And you can bring in your own stuff. So if I wanted to be really wacky, I've got extra lanes here, right? So I could even go in and take samples, other samples for just for the heck of it, right? A synth loop, do I have anything in? No, I already have this. I could take something in E minor or A minor. I'm just going to drop it in badly, right? And if I actually drew on this, it would become part of the track, which sounds weird. It sounds like this. Oh, sorry, way too loud. Let me turn this down. this completely non-musical, but you can see what it could do, right? You could actually mash up a whole bunch of different clips together, get some really intense dubstep drop out of this. Oh yeah, look at that. This is crazy. This whole part here is too large. I need to turn the gain down. And I'm mixing mono and stereo takes at the same time. All kinds of weird stuff.
Would be great for beats though. Dropping in a whole bunch of samples to put together come together a beat. That'd be awesome.
Yes, you can come together a beat. I saw Orville Klein from Chicago actually just record what he was saying into a microphone, and just him just speaking for a couple of minutes and then comping that into a beat, which is like pretty far out. So what do you all think so far? What do you all like out of this? What is there anything that you like, that you think that you find useful for your own music?
I like the randomization and the variations. That's pretty cool.
The randomization, yeah, yep. I like that a lot. And ironically, the amount of control you have over randomization. It's controlled random. Thanks, Wayne. Anybody else got anything that you liked from what you saw?
I'm loving the reverbs as well. Like the new reverb's beautiful. So good.
Yeah, the reverb is, I've been using some others like Valhalla, and this really sounds, I'm not getting back to Valhalla because I just really like this, and it's native to the system. Yeah. The last thing I'll do is I will put in a bit of preparation for live playing. And for this, I am going to take a couple of 4-bar segments here, consolidate time to new scene, take another segment here, consolidate time to new scene, another segment here, consolidate time to new scene, and then here as well, consolidate time to new scene, and the idea of doing this is I want to go to my session view, and in my session view, I now have I believe Amy's actually shown this. So you already have seen this, that now in session view, I can see the tempo that's running here. The tempo here is actually 80 BPM, which is the BPM of the chill beat. So if you hear this one, but for this one, if I'm in a gig, I want to be able to jump straight away to 126 straight away without having to mess around with the tempo mapping, so that I can actually have So this allows me to jump tempo really quick. I actually like another function in the live view, which is this. When I click on the scene, I now have follow actions. This was not available before. So I can let this say, oh, follow after follow after 4 bars. And then the next one, follow after 4 bars. The next one, I can decide to jump. Maybe I don't want to play this thing. I want to save this for scene number 5 for my own live playing. So I want to jump to scene 6. So let me do this. Jump 6. Okay. By the way, there's this percentage or probability that this will happen, and I want it to happen 100%. I could also no action, which means, or maybe I'll have a probability 50-50 that it will stop. Okay, 50-50 that it will stop. So we'll see our luck, see when this thing jumps and when it stops. So when I launch the first one, after 4 bars, next scene, so that was a bit of a shocker, but the 50-50 chance that it would jump to the fast one, and it did jump, it didn't stop. So with this, actually the ability to jump around from parts of a gig to another part of a gig, and for the song basically to run by itself, that's what I found really useful for live play. And of course, the being able to change all the other settings, mapping them to MIDI controllers, so I could do a tape stop sound using the pitch shift lifter. It's all great fun for what I have in mind. That's about it. Brings us to 8 p.m. in Australia.
It is indeed. Thank you so much. That covered so much ground. I think